So I finally got an in-person retail space at a craft collective, a maker collective, a maker consignment type market. And I'm really excited to see how it goes. So today is gonna be kind of a behind the scenes look at my first vendor booth in person. So that's this polo blue. I'm envisioning boom, sign, boom, quilts, boom, pillows, gifts. So this has been just like a really fun opportunity to see how my products do with customers and to get more of a local feel for how things will sell and just expand my business into this interesting new avenue. But I wanted to talk today, give you kind of a behind the scenes of pros and cons of selling at a place like this. So this is not, your typical craft fair where you are going every weekend and you're setting up a tent or you're setting up a booth and you're setting up your table and you're bringing all your things out and you are there all day interacting with people face to face. This is a little different. This is a sort of a retail collective where local artists and local retailers, people who resell things, rent a booth space all year long, almost every day of the year. And they have employees who are the ones who are actually interacting with customers and selling things and working all day. So it's a little bit different, some pros and cons. And yeah, let's get into it. So I'm going to do a little comparison of the pros and cons here between having a vendor booth in a space like this. So this is like a consignment booth. We'll call it a consignment booth and we'll call the other things art markets. That's craft fairs, farmers markets where you have your vendor space, gift fairs kind of at the holiday season. So we'll call those art markets. And this is, I've already forgotten what I was going to call it. Consignment booth? Vendor booth? Yeah. So that's not going to clear anything up, but those are the two different spaces I'm talking about here. And I think the pro of having my vendor space, the big pro as I see it, is that I don't have to be there in person and schlep my stuff to an art market in order to sell things. I just have to set up my vendor space one time and then I have that space for a year. It is open 7 days a week. Someone else is there interacting with customers and facilitating the sales. And someone else is in charge of marketing that space to local people. And I don't need to cart a tent or tables or shelves to another location every weekend. And so that frees me up 7 days a week, weekends too, to be just making more products or making more things that I want to make or not making anything at all if nothing is selling. So it frees up my time. And I thought that was a big bonus for the phase that I am in my life. I want that time. So that was worth it to me. I do have to pay rent on my vendor space, but that's comparable, I think, to if you're doing a lot of art markets throughout the year, those vendors also have to pay for their space. So shop those art markets, man. Those people are paying to be there and they are paying to make sales to you and spread their art. So I love that for them. But I think it's probably comparable fees. Like you pay rent for the space that you are taking up wherever you go when you are doing retail. One of the cons to that setup though is obviously if I were at an art market, I would be getting to talk face to face with customers. I would get to hear what they think of my products or what they would want to see from me or what they like and don't like about things. And I'm not going to get that at all in this space unless I go and talk to the people who are actually selling and quiz them about what customers may have said. Or if I go in person during an open house or something, then I can interact with people. And I feel like that is a little bit similar to how things have been operating in the online world. I don't necessarily hear from people unless they're really happy with what they get, and then they give me a review or they reach back out over email and tell me how much they liked something. And obviously I love to hear that. So the customer interaction is going to be similar to selling online, whereas I would love more customer interaction in person in my community, but it's a trade-off with spending the time actually being there in person and doing that stuff. The other con, of course, is when someone is working for you and selling your products for you, you're gonna have to trade a little bit of your profit to them in the form of a commission. So that is an extra cost, and that's something that I need to factor in to my pricing. So I use an inventory system currently. Currently I use one called Crafty Base. I don't know if anyone else uses that, but it's great because you can sort of plug in all of your materials that go into every product that you make. Every one of my pillows has a zipper, it's got fabric, obviously, it's got a pillow insert. Any doodads, accessories, anything you're putting in there, you can put it into your manufacturer in your inventory system, and it will give you an accurate cost of goods sold. Then you can factor that into your pricing and factor in things like the time, your labor that it took you, and things like the commission that you're going to have to pay, fees and things like that. And then you can get a better idea of where you should be pricing your items to actually make a profit. And that is something that artists and crafters are not often great at. So it can help, honestly, to have a computer program, an inventory program, tell you what your cost of goods sold is, so that you can be like, well, this isn't me claiming this money. This is it telling me what I need to price my products at in order to make money. And that's nice. Math is nice. So I feel like that trade-off is worth it to me because I don't have to be there all the time, like I said, and then I don't have to do the physical labor of schlepping things in a big old wagon to an art market every day. Fantastic. All I have to do is once a week, maybe, go and restock and refresh, make sure everything looks tidy and good in my booth, and it is reflecting my brand identity very well. And that's that. So speaking of profit, like obviously that is kind of the main indicator of whether an art market or a retail space is like successful for any vendor or any person selling a product. That's going to be like your main indicator of success is how much money am I making? How much am I netting? How much am I selling? But with this space, I'm sort of thinking of it like a grand experiment because I've never done this before. I've always just sold online. So I've kind of tried to come up with some different success metrics too, some things to keep an eye on so that I can sort of decide, do I want to keep doing this in subsequent years? Was this successful? Was this maybe just a learning experience? And so I'll talk about what I'm looking at, what am I tracking as my success metrics. So obviously sales, profit, straight up profit. How many items am I selling? How much money am I making on them? Those are two success metrics that probably everyone is already thinking of. Other things that I might look at that are a little more nuanced are like, how many things am I selling and how much profit am I making as compared to my website? Is this worth the extra effort or the additional sales channel? Or should I just be focusing more on what I was doing before and improving that whole system? Another something that I will track is customer behavior. So which items are people interested in? How often am I having to restock? Are people interested here in what I'm selling? It is possible that this town that I live in is not my target demographic. And I have to be comfortable with that because honestly, if you're not into disco balls, I don't understand you at all. And that sounds like a you problem. But yeah, it's possible in every market that people aren't going to be into your weird art. So anyone who does art markets has to consider that and know that there is a market for them out there somewhere. I already know that my ideal customers, that my target demographic is out there. I've interacted with them. They buy from me online. We got Morgan designing these disco balls that I love so much and that I am now putting more of into the world. So I know that people have my taste in weird art, but are they here? I don't know. So customer behavior is another one of the metrics that I will be tracking. What things are people interested in? How often are they buying those things? And what are their kind of seasonal habits? Do people buy Christmas things at Christmas time, or are they more into, I don't know, things like that, seasonal trends? You know what I'm talking about. Let's see, another thing that I would love to be tracking is sort of new audience, maybe, or we'll call it community. So how many new visitors am I getting to my website? How many new followers maybe am I getting on social media? How many new contacts am I building, potential customers or fans, I guess, in the community? Or other makers also is a great positive relationship building that I am looking forward to. Because it's so much fun to collaborate with people who actually live near you and can collaborate in person. So other vendors and other artists is also another great metric of success for me. So what were we calling that? Like new audience? Community? Community. We'll call that one community. Another several things that I'm going to be tracking are more personal. So the time. How much time am I spending maintaining this vendor booth, maintaining this retail space that could be spent doing other things? Is it taking over my life, or is it a great way to save time instead of having to list things on my website? Could go either way. And then my enjoyment level, or on the opposite side of that, my stress levels. So like the stress enjoyment balance can be another metric that I am tracking. Am I having fun with this? Is it stressing me out? Am I having to restock too often? Are things not selling well? Am I worried about how things are being received? I don't know. So it's a grand experiment. I'm so happy with how the space turned out. So only time will tell. I think maybe I'll keep track of it. Maybe I'll give you some little captain's logs every couple of months and check in with how those metrics are looking. See if I can suggest having a vendor booth in a collective space like this to other people. Yeah, so follow along, check me out. So yeah, I hope that if you are local and you know me personally, that you'll go check this space out because you will recognize it. And if not, if you are considering a show like this, not an art market, but like a more permanent space, I would love to hear about your experience. I hope that this is an interesting insight into the sorts of things that go into having an art/craft business like this. I know it's unusual for me. I usually do tutorials or talk about quilting. So this is still talking about quilting. It's quilting adjacent, but yeah, let me know if you like hearing more businessy behind the scenes stuff. Boy, does this take up all of my brain space. I'd be happy to share. So I hope you will subscribe and join me next time when I talk about more quilty things. Bye.